Out. I'm Ayodele Ozugbakun. Today on the program, Nigeria records 663 highest daily confirmed cases of COVID-19 as Anambra State provides more isolation centers, intensifies treatment ahead of peak in infections. Death toll in Boko Haram attack on Zowo, Borno State rises to 82. And later on the show, Journalists Hangout Midweek Special focuses on the adverse effect of COVID-19 on sports betting. I'll be hanging out with Babajide, Kolade-Otitoju, and Solomon Ajuziogu. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. The number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria has been going up. According to the latest figure from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, the country recorded its highest daily confirmed cases of 663 in one day. Lagos led the pack with 170 cases, bringing the total number of infections in the country to 13,464. Meanwhile, Anambra, which recorded 17 cases of the virus on Tuesday, is tightening its belts on the challenges ahead. The governor, Willie Obiano, said the state is providing more isolation centers and intensifying treatment of patients ahead of the peak infections predicted by medical experts. Jide, this is unprecedented. The highest we've had was over 500 in a day. So yesterday is record-breaking. If in a single day we are declaring 663 infections, quite unfortunate.
And there is no reason to believe that in subsequent days we won't have something higher than that, because there is no serious strategy to defeat the pandemic in our country. Cynicism has taken over, despite the fact that deaths are being recorded. Some Nigerians continue to fool themselves that it does not exist. I was reading about an obituary of an EcoBank staff who tested positive on May 1 and went into isolation. After going into isolation, they went for a second test and was negative. And suddenly he died.
Oh, went for the second test and was negative?
Yes. That's someone who had worked for the bank since 2007. So I looked at it and said, this could happen to anyone. And many big people are dying. In fact, because government strategy now is, since there's no bed space to accommodate more people who have tested positive, government strategy is to get some primary health care centers to begin to treat people. Now, private caregivers, private hospitals in Lagos, they have their hands full. Some of them who have undertaken to treat these people.
Tests. Have we gone through the
Yes, because
training?
Government can no longer say no. We are the only people who can treat. So now some of them have been encouraged,
decentralized,
encouraged, and provided all that is needed. Now, because there are so many big people who are being treated for this, some of them are charging millions of naira in Lagos now, cardiovascular hospitals and the rest. Because this is an ailment that is there. This is an ailment that is there. Whatever people say, oh, it's a scam, oh, it does not exist, oh, it's an opportunity to steal money, COVID-19 is here. It is when it takes someone within your family that some of the people who choose not to believe what is right here would then know that, yes, this thing is here. So this is the thing.
Even in Lagos, where they are about to open the churches, some pastors have come out to say, no, on Sunday, I'm not going to open.
Yeah, that's what Pastor Bakari said. He said no.
Fountain of Life, Pastor Odukoya, it was quoted.
Even in Ilorin,
they are not opening.
In Ilorin,
This church is not opening.
The clerics are saying, no, we will not open Jumat, we won't do Jumat service. Because one, the risks are grave. Then some of the conditions that you have set out for them to obey, it's just not possible for them to obey those conditions. That the clerics are usually above 65 years. So that means the people who preside will be very young people, which is unusual. The emir, for example, is in his 80s. And the emir would want to be part of the Jumat prayers because it is the most situated, spitting distance from his palace that that's where the Jumat prayers hold. So they too are saying, no, let's do it at home. We're not in a hurry for Jumat prayers. So this is the thing. There are people who realize that this thing is a big problem, but there are many Nigerians, and that is what government should address. How come people see this as something that is not there? That means they've got to do something more, a lot more about the enlightenment and get Nigerians to realize that this is a present danger. Nobody is saying it's a death sentence, but do what you've been asked to do. Wear the mask, follow the protocols, respect hygiene and all that, so and you'll be safe.
Solomon, this is this figure. When I saw it this morning, and I was like, we're almost getting to that place that is a point of no return, and this is what will really put into test government efforts and all the effort that's been channeled towards solving the pandemic. That now that we have them in thousands,
without any desire at all to sound politically correct and to sound like to sound patronizing, I must say first and foremost that some of the efforts that had been put in place, whereas they seem like effort at the very beginning, don't seem to have been followed through and have not been done vigorously.
Nobody projected that we are going to have this kind of figure. And
well, it was expected in a way for those who are perceptible, because one of the first things we kept talking about here was the capacity to test. You have more cases. You'll be able to find out to what extent the virus has been able to reproduce itself, because it's a rapidly reproducing virus. To what extent it has done that by when you have a higher capacity to test. So you'll be able to know exactly where you are. But when you have very low capacity to test, Nigeria hasn't been able, as of today, to test up to 2,000 in a day. Nigeria hasn't been able to do that. And so if you have such a situation where at most you can go up by 1,800, at most, you can go up at 1,800 tests in a day, okay? The question is, how about the extent of infiltration and the reproduction that has taken place at the community level? Because we haven't been able to arrest those. So we've always talked about that this will get to it. And then when we reopened, we talked about strategy. And the strategies have also not been followed through if there was anyone at all. So the other problem was Nigerians also on their part, even though the government has now said you have a responsibility. It's not just the government and the government and the government. You have a responsibility as a people to protect yourselves. Nigerians have not shown enough discipline for themselves, to take care of themselves and to stay safe. Some do not believe it's natural because there's a problem of perpetual cynicism. The governed and the government and the governed. Nigerians are cynical about their government. But that does not also mean that the people do not have a responsibility to take care of themselves. So this figure was expected. I think that this is just, this is not even enough. I think that by the time we do more tests, we are likely to have more higher figures. well, sorry, maybe the word shouldn't be not enough. This is just a tip of the iceberg, I think, because if we can test more, we'll probably have more. Because people are beginning now to even, behave like there is nothing like it. We have forgotten it. oh, because now they even watch the TV and they see what's happening in the US and the protests all over the place where people are, ignoring physical distancing, people are not even taking all the precautionary measures anymore. Then the other thing is about communication strategy. This was one cardinal thing. There's something. This is a behavioral change issue. For you to make people behave in a particular way, you need to assemble the best brains in the psychological effect of communication. People who can design the messages and meet the people at the very point where these messages will begin to move them towards a particular direction. You know that in history, when things have happened around the world, like it was the First World War, Second World War, you know the role communication played in galvanizing the war effort in Germany, who attacked the world, and on the Allied side, communication is key to this. And if you do not use it effectively, you are not going to be able to move the people in the direction you want them to move. In fact, that behavioral change communication is what is actually much more important in all of this.
I think our people, when I look at the level of non-compliance to the laid down non-pharmaceutical interventions given by governments at the initial stage, people were daring to eat face masks anywhere you go to, the banks, the public vehicles and everything. But I made a kind of deliberate efforts in the last 72 hours to just review it anywhere I went to in Lagos, and I discovered that we're not sticking to it again. The 2 meters distance, don't stay in a crowded place again, We're not just observing them again.
It's difficult to change a people. It will require mighty effort to get people to change from the ways they've been used to. Some people see wearing the mask as a form of punishment. I even saw a church choir that composed a song, kind of describing it as a form of prison, to use the mask as a form of prison. So, or something like taking their rights away. So this is the thing. Nigerians find it difficult to adhere to this thing because they believe that it is inconvenience. I've seen people turned back at supermarkets. I've seen people turned back where they wanted to buy ice cream and other because and they were saying, are you saying that I cannot buy things just because I didn't use the mask? But there were occasions too when even me, I forgot to put on the mask and I went back to my car and I took it. So I'm happy with supermarkets that would turn people back to insist that they should go and wear the mask, because you are helping them to save their own lives, because for some of them, they do not know that they are actually trying to self-destruct. So we just have to go on to continue to preach to our people. There are some of them who do not like some of us because we are saying, look, this thing is real. They want us to join them in their elevated ignorance in saying, no, it does not exist, it's a scam. So they don't like the fact that we're even talking about it. Yes. Somebody even said, oh, baby, Jide has been bribed. Can you imagine? Something that has killed more than 40,000 people in UK, about 50,000 now. It has killed about 112,000.
Government are shutting the economy in the US. Across the world.
So they don't even want us to talk about it. They want us to wallow in the ignorance that they enjoy swimming in. So this is the thing, but we must just continue to say the truth.
All right, Governor Willie Obiano, the governor of Anambra State, is joining us live via Skype. Many thanks for joining us, Governor Obiano.
Thank you. Thank you, Ayo. Thanks for having me on your program.
All right. Anambra recorded 17 new cases of COVID-19, according to the figure by the NCDC. What's the situation of the pandemic in your states?
Well, thanks, Ayo. Anambra State sent 360 samples, out of which 320 came back, and 72 of the samples are still being awaited. I think the results of the samples are being awaited. We know we test in India. the private setting area here in Anambra charges a very high amount of between 7.5 to 8 million naira plus dividend. We have to use the people and the best. But that's why we have to LCDC quickly.
I think it's a big challenge for most of the state governors. They are even saying that they need assistance from the federal government because it's not enough. They don't have enough funds to fight this pandemic. We are trying to reconnect Governor Willie Obiano there.
Well, it's natural because, one, the NCDC does not own the states. The NCDC is an interventionist agency. It's the states that build isolation centers. It's the states that fund most of the things going on at the isolation centers, the treatment, the feeding. When you camp people in a particular place, you have to spend a lot of money. It's at great cost to these states, and that's where the real problem is. It wasn't budgeted. I mean, it's an emergency. In fact, you know, it's huge. It's huge. So you are going to be testing at the cost of not less than 50,000 naira per test, not per person, per test. An individual who's caught the virus could be tested up to 8 times or more. So imagine when you have to conduct 1 test at that price, and the states have to bear the burden of that, you know. So the intervention here is that NCDC brings the expertise because they are the ones who's responsible.
Okay, I think we have Governor Obiano back now. Yeah. All right, Mr. Governor.
Thanks, Ayo, for having me back.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Please go ahead.
Thank you for having me back. I was trying to give you the update in Anambra as we speak. We have we collected 302 samples. 150 of them were collected just in 1 week, and we've received 230 results. 72 are still being awaited from Irua, and we have 53 positive cases, and we have 9 deaths. And I will explain. 9 deaths. I will explain that. 7 of the deaths were in private hospitals, and they had comorbidity, and they were being treated not of COVID, but at death. They informed us. We went to take samples, and just to make sure that we can quarantine the people that not the So those comorbidity guys that died, we collected their samples, and post-mortem, we were able to find out that they had COVID. But all the time they were being treated in those hospitals, they didn't show COVID symptoms at all, and they were being treated the normal they had. And beyond that, I must say that we have 460 beds. As we speak, we have only 7 people there, and only 7. So we have enough food for anything. And we've trained our doctors and what have you. In terms of sensitization of the people, we have COVID-19 team, central one I chair, here in Oka, but there are COVID-19 teams in 326 wards in Anambra State, 326 wards. And that's why in 1 week we were able to send 150 samples, and we are boosting our test capacity, and we are hoping that very soon SCDC will come to our aid to assist us in having our own test to speed up the results. Take, for example, 72 samples are still being awaited in Irua. Sometimes it takes more than 4 days for us to get our feedback, and that's not good enough to management of this disease. We need prompt testing and prompt results so that we can treat the people. But I'm happy to say that we successfully treated 13 patients. None of them lasted more than 10 days, and they were, so we have capacity in treating these users. The people that died, or we are being treated in private hospitals. So we can see this opportunity to ask our people to always report promptly this situation so that we can handle it. We have the capacity to treat COVID here in Anambra State, but if the case comes too late, it becomes too late to treat, and that's unfortunate. So if you look around, I can see what you're showing. We have beautiful settings there in Anambra State. You can see the beds. We have all the things you require, the things that will help you with breathing. One thing I've ordered my pathologists to do is, for the first time, we are carrying out tests on dead COVID patients with the approval of their people. What I want to achieve with that is that I want to see a pattern, to understand why, whether there's a peculiar way, whether their tracks are blocked or something like that, as the case may be, so that it can help in the treatment that people administer. I think that's what we should do. For now, every COVID patient is treated and thrown away as if, but if they don't have to handle such infectious people, they can still do anatomy of them and find out the cause of death. And I think that is very critical in solving this problem. If you have other questions, I would like to.
Okay, Governor Obiano, it is said that Nigeria is yet to get to the peak of COVID-19 infections. How is your state coping with the challenge, as in stopping this spread in your states?
I do agree with that statement completely. You can see we just started reading up our testing capacity, doing 150 tests in 1 week. We could do more. We could do up to that number in 1 day, but we need to have our own facility. Going to Europe and staying for 4 days or 5 days to get results will not help us in fighting this. But having said that, this is a disease, as far as I'm concerned, that has come to stay. And therefore, we must learn to live with it. And how do we learn to live with it? Obey what that disease wants us to obey. Social distancing, wearing of face masks, washing of hands, and 90% of the dead in Anambra were age bracket 60 and above. But we had one guy that is 24 years old, and 24 years old. And so this doesn't go by age, but apparently, people, the older you are, probably the more susceptible you may get.
Your Excellency, sir.
Yes.
Your Excellency.
Are you hearing me?
Your Excellency, one of the big problems.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah, one of the big problems that you governors have had to grapple with is the fact that people coming from other states, thereby causing this
Community spread.
transmission, thereby leading to further transmission of the disease. How have you been able to address this problem, especially given the fact that we have this bridgehead with the boundary with Delta State,
Niger Bridge,
which is one area through which people can come into your state. How are you addressing that problem?
Well, we have 32 ways you can enter Anambra. Some are proper roads, some are Appian ways, and what have you. We've tried to the best of our ability, man those 32 effectively with the law enforcement agents, that means police, civil defense, army, and what have you. Then I added my political appointees to also assist in managing those. Well, that has helped in some large measures, but that is not to say that some people are not sneaking or are not taking it, but we try our very little best. But let me tell you, sooner or later we are going to open up the roads. So whether, you can see, Lagos flights will start flying, coming at the appropriate time. The borders will be open, and people can move around. So what is important is to obey what the famous wants us to obey. Locking people down ultimately may not help us. But in these early stages, it is important to lock down. And that's why the federal government did it, and that's why the state governments did it. In Anambra, you can see I went to the extent of even putting a gate at the bridge. And we locked with the curfew. I must tell you that curfew by the federal government did help the state majorly, because with that, we had effective control of the night. Except during the day, people would go about looking for what they eat, so we allowed them to go. So you made a good observation, but my answer to you is that observation is not something that will last for a very long time, because people, when we open the air down, people must move around, and you wouldn't know who has it, and except you obey those things, World Bank said, World Health and NCDC said you should obey, somebody may get it. But the truth is that this COVID is very easy to treat. I must tell you that from what they have done here in Anambra. So the earlier somebody gets it and reports, the better for the fellow. But if the guy first does not appear to show symptoms, which is very, which you see in some instances.
Mr. Governor, sir.
Guys that have, yeah.
These isolation centers, finally, these isolation centers, I'm seeing, how many do you have, and what are those things you put in place to make sure that we get this kind of nice facilities across Anambra State? Because this is looking so nice.
We have 240 beds at NYC super center that we built recently. We also have 20-bedroom facilities in Onitsha, very well equipped with all the ventilators, just name them, all the equipment that are there. The young man from the US who has the capacity in these areas confirmed that our holding center, we call them holding centers, we don't call them isolation centers, so that it doesn't have this stigma in people's mind that they are going to an isolation center. So we call them protective centers, actually, protective centers. So we made that point, and it's been helping in the mindset, So it's a very beautiful place. The guys that stayed in the ones in Onitsha, when they were interviewed, when they were going, they thought that they were in the hotel all through the treatment, So we are ready. We have. If you look around what you are seeing now, you can see that we have all that it takes to treat this illness. That's very important. One thing we don't have as a state is the test center. So we still rely on another state to help us do our tests. The private one in Anambra, like I said, it's expensive. Paying 8,000 or thereabouts, and giving the 9, what do you call it, personal protective gear to wear. It's expensive, so we can't afford it. So we go to Europe. That's why I have 72 still outstanding. But I believe NCDC is addressing this, and if we go a long way, it's helping us in this fight. This disease.
Thank you so much, Governor Willie Obiano, the Executive Governor of Anambra State. Thank you so much for talking to us, and this is quite impressive. Gentlemen, yes. When you have this in Anambra State and you see the equipment and the protective center, not isolation center, according to...
Protective and holding centers.
Holding centers.
I like the
way, yes.
It's coined it. Because it does not, it conveys that message that, look, this is not a death sentence. And it simplified it. That's it. The treatment is simple. It's simple. It's simple. It's easy. It's not difficult to treat.
That within 10 days.
These are the kind of governance that I like. Not giving the impression that it does not exist when you cannot scientifically prove that it does not exist in your state. He said something that I feel happy about. He said, look, this is a disease that has come to stay with us. All that we need to do is adhere to all those protocols that have been set out so that we can stay alive. So don't give the impression that, oh, this thing is such a dangerous, it will kill people. But let's just be ready.
this will create a kind of revolution in the health sector. With what I'm saying.
I hope so.
Well,
You know, we've had very great health professors, you know, medical professors in charge of the health ministry. Whether we've had Olikoye and some Kuti, or you've had the Naka guy or Sotimeyi. And you know that over the years we created what we call the primary health centers.
Yeah,
but the primary health centers were not designed to be able to deal with, or rather if they were designed, but over time you see that that has been eroded to deal with infectious diseases like this. So talking about primary health care centers, handling this in all the local governments, that will be a very tough challenge, because this is a virus that we hadn't seen. And so infectious disease center, you know that in Lagos we had one infectious disease center specializing in treating this sort of thing. I think that this is where we need to look at the health system generally and hope that this will trigger some revolution in healthcare in Nigeria.
All right, still to come, death toll in Boko Haram attack on Zowo, Borno rises to 82. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this breather. Live from our headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria. Like a wounded beast, the Boko Haram scourge is biting us hard again. Just when we thought the insurgents are about to be defeated, they are staging a comeback. On Tuesday, Boko Haram fighters attacked Zowo village in Borno State, and the death toll continues to rise. At the last count, the casualty figure has risen to 82. I saw one picture this morning. I want to console myself that it should not be that Zowo village, because I saw dead bodies littered, and I had to zoom in to look at these animals or human beings. Lo and behold, I saw those dead bodies. And for Boko Haram to be able to attack, and the time it would take to kill 82 people, and those people did not get any response from our security forces. It's baffling.
Yeah, first, before I go into last night's attack, let me just reel out some statistics to show to everyone. And this is statistics that I got from the security agencies to show that we are far from winning the war. Anyone who tells you, and I have been reluctant. When I read some stories, people want me to come and talk about, how we are doing well, how we are crushing the Boko Haram. It's difficult for me. It revolts against my conscience to come and talk about things that I don't know.
Oh, you know? That you've not been supporting.
That I've not been able.
Victory.
Yes, that I've something that I cannot validate. You want me to come and say, it's really happening. You know, I said it back then that no, stop saying Shekau wants to surrender. If you remember, I said that's not true. Shekau will not surrender. We are seeing it now. Between 4th March to 10th June, there were 102 attacks, either repelled or not repelled. From 1st to 10th of June, 17 different attacks. So you can look at it. Just a little over 1 week. 17 different attacks. Yesterday, while we were here, Boko Haram attacked the Maiduguri-Guno highway and kidnapped people. Thankfully, the military rescued those who were kidnapped. Today, on Damboa Road, you know that Damboa Road, I've always said that is the most dangerous highway in Nigeria. And for a long time, nobody could use that highway. But the military declared it open and said people can use that highway. Today, at around 12 noon, Boko Haram attacked Dogonwaya along that Damboa highway, because Damboa is close to Sambisa forest, so they can commit atrocities and run inside. So they attack people along Dogonwaya, and up till now, we have not received the report of the casualties that resulted from there. This attack of yesterday was Boko Haram's revenge for an incident in July 2019. They came to that area. There were about 3 villages there. The people used just one well. That's where they draw their water from. So they came, they wanted to steal cattle. So the civilian JTF attacked them, killed some of them and recovered 100 cattle from them. So this is their own way of avenging what happened since July 2019. And what did they do yesterday? They gathered people, every resident of the village, because they blocked all the 3 villages. They blocked the exit point and gathered them at the well, around that well. So they now separated little boys and girls, put them on one side. They put women on one side. Then they opened fire on the men.
They had enough time to do that.
They started attacking because the governor went there around 6 a.m. today, and the people, they told him what happened. They started attacking from 10 a.m. They left the place around 4 p.m. That's what they told the governor. It's not me saying it. That's what Zulum went there 6 a.m. today. Governor Zulum was there.
6 hours.
They had 6 hours. And that the Gubio itself, there is a super camp in Gubio. And this Gubio to the place where to the communities where this happened, is not up to 15 kilometers. So we could not rescue them. 82 persons. That's the confirmed figure coming from the governor.
Killed like fowl.
82 in one day.
I saw it.
You know,
I wanted to zoom in.
Before this, there was the attack on
so
Auno. They attacked our soldiers, killed some, and some are still missing.
2 people
Just
wasted.
a few days back. That road, the Damaturu Highway, is still unsafe as we speak. Damaturu Gaidam Road, unsafe. So I've been asking myself, what really has changed? And I always say, let's not underrate this enemy. Let's crush this enemy, focus on crushing the enemy. Let's not underrate them, because they have a way of emerging from adversity. When you think that they are defeated, you just see that they are back again. What the Hausa man will call Kara Karufi. They've regained strength. So this is what we are seeing. 102 attacks in 1 month.
Solomon, this is becoming unbearable.
The statistic is damning, first and foremost, is damning, and it does not seem to give some courage to the narrative about how much you are fighting and what effort you are putting into, put an end to this. And we thought that at this time, when we have made considerable gains, helped by Chad, and that we were going to take the opportunity and finish up the battle, that we wouldn't have this number of attacks. Clearly, the wave of the attacks has shown that we are still a bit far from it. But then I must also point out something, that in warfare of this nature, one of the things you see sometimes, these are terrorist organizations, and one of the things they do is to create terror, to create fear. Sometimes, even when decimated, the residues of these cells, of these terror organizations, their cells and their groups, can always, launch certain attacks to give the impression of activity. And the amazing thing is that this particular town they attacked, the Zowo town, is a town that is always battle ready. Unfortunately, they were caught unawares at this time because they had been attacked before and they repelled the attack. So it's rather unfortunate that this happened at a time we've had that the military has been making efforts to try to stop these attacks. I mean, it's really disheartening that they could have all the time to do all of this to a group of people who normally would be battle ready. But then it also shows something, okay? It also shows something that they are working with certain level of intelligence to have caught the people unawares. Maybe that is something our own military need to do a lot more about.
All right, on a final note today, Journalists Hangout Midweek Special, we have a special report on the adverse effects of COVID-19 on sport betting in the last few months. Sport betting has moved from boom to doom as the pandemic wreaks havoc on the once profitable business in Nigeria. In this report, TVC's News' Karima Salami takes a look at the changing fortune of more than 60 million punters and operators in Nigeria due to the lockdown.
It's the game of numbers. Numbers that translate to a win or a loss. Sports betting is where passion meets money. But that passion has been on holiday due to the outbreak of coronavirus, which led to the suspension of many businesses globally. This has incapacitated sports betting and generally flattened the revenue curve for them. Many of them are now grappling with the new reality, a drop in revenue for operators, their agents, and of course sports fans.
It's not been easy. You have sport betting operations. A lot of people really want to have that industry thrive. But how are they going to thrive when this pandemic was unprecedented? Nobody prepared for it. You consider the fact that it virtually forced everybody into an off-season. Off-season usually is between June, after the leagues had been ended, the major leagues had been ended right up to end of July, shortly before commencement of UEFA Champions League qualifiers, and basically forcing everybody from March into off-season. It tells a lot about how much is being lost, because money you're not making in sports betting is money lost.
And with sporting activities suspended worldwide, and by extension the shutting down of business for the punters, roughly 60 million Nigerians who actively engaged in betting are singing songs of lamentation.
When we watch match like that, we do bet. So that's where we get some changes, Because when we win, we get money. So we cannot watch match, not to talk of having money, not to talk of betting. So it affects a lot.
For like 3 months now, to feed our family, it's very hard. But now that Premiership is coming back, we hope that nothing will stop it over there again. And our government also here will give us rest of mind so that we can feed our family and so our football without fear.
There's not much sport activities, so what they play most is the virtual game. So, but now that the sport has resumed, so they kind of play games for soccer, but not that much. So, or during the lockdown too, they play Zoom. There's what we call Zoom virtual soccer, and this one is normal virtual soccer. So they play Zoom, they play normal virtual. But now that this thing has started now, so people have started patronizing us by playing normal soccer games.
A leading report on gambling in Africa, published by KMPG, reeled out some startling numbers on the sports betting industry in Nigeria. As of 2016, the leading sports betting company in Nigeria, BetNaija, raked in an average monthly turnover of $10 million, and the second best player in the industry, NairaBet, made an average turnover of $3 to $5 million with a 20 to 30% profit margin. Abiola Bashir Are is the CEO of Lagos State Lottery Sport. He says the business has suffered huge losses in the past 3 months, and as there are no games to stake money on in these COVID-19 times.
At this point in time, I can estimate that we have lost about 50% of our income, because most people go to a game center to play either sport betting or lottery or even keno, and most especially casino is a live activities. They have to go into casino plaza to play. So approximately we have lost about 50% of our income.
With the stoppage of sporting activities in Europe, mainly the English Premier League, the Spanish League, the Italian League and other leagues, the impact of the stoppage of those leagues was the first major hit that the sports betting markets got in Nigeria and around the world.
With major leagues such as the English Premier League due to return this month, operators of betting companies and their clients are hoping for a return to business as usual.
The pandemic has had its own challenges for the bookmakers, but as much as possible, they will pick up, because more and more players will begin to place bets, and there will be, some form of enhanced revenue coming the way of operators. But the most important thing will be that operators are able to, play as fair as possible. Ensure when winners come through, they pay the punters on time, because it's always a major problem for sport betting firms. So, thinking that they are not going to survive, yes, it will be difficult for them, but I think as much as possible with governmental support for them, they will do fine.
No doubt the suspension of major sporting events has affected the income of Nigerian sports betting companies, which put up matches on their platforms for bettors and punters to stake and win or lose money.
The good thing is that we're not where we were 6 weeks ago. So, 6 weeks ago, we would have been a completely different story, but we're in a much better position because some leagues are back and players and punters are beginning to have access to the sports, the football that they love and they are used to, and they understand really well. So there's beginning to be some pickup in the business and the industry, but it's not where it used to be. It will definitely be a gradual process to get back to where we used to be.
Jimmy Ogunlano also used the opportunity to advocate for responsible gaming.
The government still has a lot to do about addiction, because there are a lot of the youths that are already addicted to sports betting, addicted to lottery bets and all that. And you reckon with the fact that every sports betting firm is supposed to have on their website plus 18 sign. But the government has it all to do at this point in time to ensure that as much as possible we have responsible gaming. Responsible gaming is playing fair. Responsible gaming is stop. When the fun stops, stop. Because most times you see people playing with disposable cash. But because they have the idea that they can continue placing bets, they lose huge sums of money. For virtual sports, before you know it, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, the money's all gone down the drain.
For now, hustlers and corporate players who see the betting industry as an avenue to earn income will have to wait a little longer as betting companies adjust to current realities. Karima Salami, TVC News, Lagos.
Gentlemen, I must confess that I noticed the spike in the number of people that are into the sport betting. When I was growing up, it was this Babajide or
it was
pool. They got it pool, I mean.
It was based on draw. That was based on draw.
So I just noticed that people would just go
England,
to one corner,
Scotland and Australia,
scribbling some things and listening to second division, third division, and fourth division results from the Premiership, and you start hearing weird things like Dundee United 1, Aberdeen 1. So, Jide, this has provided a lot of jobs. This has provided a lot of kind of succor to our youths on the streets.
Yes, and it's always been like that. I remember back in the day, the group of pools company owners had to go and meet Jakonde because the military administration banned pools betting, So they told Jakonde, look, we can employ so many Nigerians and we'll generate money, we'll pay our taxes. People like Willie Obiyan, then this Keshintin, Adebutu, because it was Obasanjo that decided at that time to ban pools betting because of a disagreement with Keshintin. I won't mention what led to that disagreement, But Baba Keshintin remembers and he knows why. But I will not say that on this program. So, but they had to go and meet Jakonde, and Jakonde took that step and then decided to let them return to business. King and George is the name of Willie Obiyan's own company.
There was
one Sophisticat.
And then there was another one, Albarka.
So then in Kano we had Tahir Fadlala, was the one who into pools business. So people will say, this Koran man, I will deal with him today. Today I will chop his money. At the end of the day, you discover that you've not, it's your own money that they chop. You didn't chop the Koran man's money.
Now you can do it online now.
You
do it on your smartphones. And our youths are there without jobs, but they're getting money from it. You can see that guy saying that it was difficult to feed his family.
At this time, it's one of the major employers of labor. It's amazing. Some people might not call it gambling, but the truth is, it's provided a lot of jobs for our young people. Back in 2010, there was a research about the evolution of sports passion, or football passion particularly. And there was this curious question about where is the passion going to lead to? What is it going to generate into? Because the study at that time was based on the football passion and how television affected the growth of the passion in foreign football. And then the question was, what's it going to develop into? Where's the passion going next? Only for us to say that what it has done is to create this pools business. You call it pools, it's sports betting. Because whereas you moved from pool, where old people played pool, based on the draw system of the English football, Scottish football, and Australian football, where young people never liked that. But then in this era, we now have not just football, we have all sports, horse racing, dog racing, you have motor racing, you have, and then there are elements within the sports that are voted, that are you can place bets on, not just about draws or who wins, who scores the first goal, who gets the first throw. Sports within the games can also be gambled upon. So it's a whole.
You'll be shocked. Even the employed ones, gainfully employed ones, they will sit down in front of their system.
Office, yeah.
In our office, you sit down in front of the system. You think they are doing something very, very. But
It's a
when you
lot
just
of
check
money.
it.
But the people who are deeply religious will say, no, we don't want to have anything to do with that. I even remember a footballer who said, no, I will not wear a jersey that advertises a betting company.
You know, of Newcastle
you can
United.
imagine how much the Ladbrokes of this world, the William Hill, Paddy Powers of this world have lost during this time. Because it's a massive, massive business. But for lovers of betting, welcome back to your passion.
Yes, so
For those of us who don't play, but who understand the power, the economic power of
Why
this.
don't you play?
I don't play. It's difficult for those of us who probably played a bit of the game and are involved to this extent to play, because it's a game of passion. It's not just the probability thing, the mathematical things are there, but you play in real
Some of
life.
us are not even lucky.
If
I try it, anything that I gamble,
but it is also reflective of the restlessly expanding frontiers of the football business.
Professor Ajuziogu, I have to leave this studio. Thank you, Solomon Ajuziogu. And BKO, thank you so much. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch Journalists Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalists Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozugbakun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.